Krystal, what are you taking a look at?
Well, mass surveillance is class warfare. That is the major takeaway from a new Washington Post report about how facial recognition and surveillance cameras are being used to strip the rights and the dignity from poor residents of public housing projects. So here is that report. The headline is Eyes on the Poor, Cameras, Facial Recognition Watch Over Public Housing. And it tracks how public housing projects are increasingly using surveillance tech to track every little movement of residents, weaponizing the technology to evict residents over really minor infractions. According to the Post, this is happening in small rural communities and major metro areas alike. Just take a look at this graphic. It shows the number of cameras installed per resident in public housing projects from New York City to Rowlett, North Dakota. Some of these places have more cameras per person than the Louvre and many casinos, which are famous, of course, for sophisticated player surveillance. Now, there is no tracking of how many residents have been evicted based on these monitoring systems, but evidence suggests that the number is significant and rising. So first of all, overall evictions have skyrocketed in public housing post-pandemic. Princeton's eviction lab tracks a portion of these public housing projects. They found that evictions in the 10 states and 34 cities that they monitor have doubled since the end of the pandemic-era moratoriums, rising to 5,576 in 2022. That was a faster rate of increase than evictions from other housing units across the country. What's more, interviews with advocates suggest that these newly installed high-tech camera systems have been crucial in trying to push people out. The Post spoke with numerous residents who had been tracked, harassed, and kicked out for violating rules about guests or about smoking too close to the building or even for removing a cart from the laundry room. They interviewed one single mom, Tanya Akabu, in New Bedford, Massachusetts, who was trying to balance childcare with her day job. She's a bus driver, and she was also going to night school, training to be a lab technician. From the sound of things, she was trying to do everything right, trying to educate herself so she could get a higher paying job to better support herself and her kiddos. But given the expense of childcare in this country, she had to rely on her ex-husband to help care for her kids while she was at work and while she was at school. The building accused him of actually living at the apartment, violating their rules, and they used their surveillance tech to make their case. The Housing Authority actually used software to place a digital marker next to Akabu's front door and told the system to retrieve every moment when motion was detected near the marker, documents and interviews show. I'm quoting from the Post here. When her property manager suspected that Akabu's ex was leaving through the back door, she set up a portable camera in the backyard pointed directly at that door. It's according to Housing Authority officials and a review of the surveillance video obtained and verified by the Post. It got to the point where it was like harassment, Akabu, 33, said. They really made my life hell. She says she presented evidence to the building that her ex was not in fact living there, that he had another different residence, but they didn't believe her and she still was evicted. Now, another 68-year-old woman was evicted when cameras caught her smoking too close to the building and allegedly getting into disputes with the other residents. After being forced out of public housing, she landed on her sister's couch, desperately searching for some other stable living situation. Just when she thought that she had caught a break with another building accepting her rental application, she's back to square one after they talked to the public housing management and decided they did not want her in their building after all. It shows you how a single eviction can really derail an entire life. So what is behind the rise of this level of surveillance? Now, in part, the installation is a reaction to entirely justified concerns about crime, violence, and theft. Residents and management alike, they want these complexes to be safe and calm, of course, not dens of drug use or gang infighting. A pandemic crime surge has hit poor neighborhoods such as these particularly hard, and public housing projects don't have the resources to do much of anything other than apply a clumsy surveillance band-aid to a gaping national social problem. The problem goes back further, too. In 1989, at the height of the crack epidemic, federal legislators passed $100 million in funding to provide a wide range of social services, drug rehab, and enhanced security to public housing. That funding was stripped under the Bush administration and replaced with a much smaller grant of just $10 million to install security features, things like cameras, doors, carbon monoxide detectors, and the like. So unfortunately, while it's pretty clear the cameras have been intrusive to residents and have turned their entire lives into a police state nightmare, there is no real evidence that they've been successful in combating crime that residents would want them to. In rural Scott County, Virginia, their algorithm-based surveillance system has only turned up a single match for an individual who is banned from the complex. And these banned lists are in and of themselves actually controversial, since people can end up on them without ever having been charged with or convicted of a crime. The person this system matched to had been accused of domestic violence, though charges were never filed. In this story, we kind of see the perfect storm of societal ills that we're grappling with all across the country. You've got a mistrust of and contempt for the poor that justifies dehumanizing treatment. You've got a post-pandemic crime spike that has disproportionately victimized the poor. You've got a response to that crime spike that lacks resources and will to deal with root causes and instead just further immiserates the poor. A tech surge that is increasingly penetrating even the most intimate of spaces for everyone. And looming over all of it, a housing affordability crisis that squeezes everyone except the wealthy and constantly threatens the working poor with outright homelessness. People don't need Big Brother watching them. They need healthcare, a living wage, childcare, and perhaps above all, decent, affordable housing. All the cameras in the world are not going to fix what ails us. And that's the rub, Sagar, is a lot of these residents. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now. And Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us. And if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.